Hello students, so we are continuing with what we were discussing. So we have discussed about the extraction of iron from its oxide. Now we are going to study other two extractions. As I told you, extraction of zinc from its oxide and extraction of copper from its oxide form. So in the last class we have discussed about the three types of iron also, like wrought iron, cast iron and pig iron, and we have discussed the difference between these three types of ions also. So that question also has been asked for your board examination. A lot of time it has been asked. So that part also we have discussed. Now we can look at how we can extract out zinc and copper from its ore. Next application is the extraction of copper from cuprous oxide. Now we can check out how we can extract out the copper from the cuprous oxide. But when you look at the Ellingham diagram, you can see that the line representing the formation of the Cu2O is almost at the top of that Ellingham diagram. It's almost at the top. That means any of the reducing agents like carbon monoxide, any of them can reduce the copper oxide very easily, right? So the reduction of the copper oxide is very easily because it is lying at the almost at the top in the Ellingham diagram. All other lines representing carbon monoxide or the carbon dioxide, even at a lower temperature, is lying lower to that of the copper oxide's line. Okay, so that means any of these can reduce copper oxide very easily. Okay, but the problem is that many of these ores contain sulfides present in, and it may contains iron also present in. Okay, so many of the ores will be in the form of sulfides, and it can have the presence of the iron also. So we need to remove this first. Okay, so sulfide ores, if the copper is in the form of the sulfide ore, what we can do is we can do the roasting, right? So we can do the roasting in order to remove the sulfide from the copper ore, right? So roasting means heating in the presence of large supply of air, right? So it will lead to the production of copper oxide, and it can be easily reduced to get our copper, right? Then it can even Cu2O is formed, means it can easily reduced by using any reducing agents like coke, and will give out the copper and carbon monoxide. Okay, but sometimes it will contain the, as I told you, iron also will be present over there. It can contain the iron also. So in the actual process, what we are doing is we will heat the ore in a furnace, in a reverberatory furnace. We'll heat it very thoroughly in a reverberatory furnace, and it should be mixed with the silica also. Why we are using silica over here means silica will act as a flux and will form the slag, and that can be easily removed out. Okay, for example, if iron is present over here, for example, FeO is present. If FeO is present in that ore as a impurity, means it will react with the silicon present over here, silicon dioxide, SiO2, and it will produce a compound FeSiO3, right? So it is a slag. So this slag can be easily removed out. Okay, so the copper which is produced after the reaction in a reverberatory furnace, we call that copper as the copper matte. We call that copper as a copper matte. It will contains copper sulfide and iron sulfide also. Okay, it will contain copper sulfide and the iron sulfide also. And this copper matte, it will again passed through a converter which contains silica line. Silica line will be there, silica lined converter. It will be passed through a silica lined converter. Very hot air blast is also shown over here. So a series of reactions will take place until we will get our copper out. Okay, one more time, copper oxide. When you look at the Ellingham diagram, you can see that copper oxide, the oxidation of the copper, that graph is lying at the top of the Elegant diagram, that means it is easily reducible. Now we can easily reduce the copper oxide to copper, right? All the other lines are lying below the copper oxide line, right? The next thing is that it can even contain the sulfide, so the iron content present in it as the impurity. So first what we will do the roasting, so that sulfide ores will get removed, or we'll get the copper oxide. Okay, copper oxide will undergo reduction using the cork, we'll get our copper out. But in the normal cases, what we are doing is, we'll pass this ore into a furnace. It will be passed into a reverberatory furnace. We'll heat it thoroughly using a silica line. That will be having a silica line over here, right? It will be mixed with the silica, or it can be even passed through a converter which contains silica lining over here. The silica will help for the formation of the slag. It will be easily removed out. The copper which is getting from the reverberatory furnace is, we call it as a copper matte, because it contains copper sulfide and the ferrous sulfide also. So a series of reaction will take place over here. So one by one we can check it, which all reactions are taking place over here. The series of reactions, the following reactions will be taking place over here. So one by one we can look at the reactions. So the first thing is that the iron which is in the iron sulfide, we told that it contains iron sulfide also, right? So the copper matte which is getting over here will contain lot of impurities present over here, right? It will contain iron sulfide over here, or it can contain iron oxide present over here, or it can even contain copper sulfide, right? Copper oxide, these all can be present over here. So from this we need to get our copper out. So first what is happening, if the ferrous sulfide will be reacted with the oxygen, is heating, it will react with the oxygen to produce iron oxide, and sulfur dioxide gas will be evolved out. Okay, this iron oxide is an impurity, right? So this can be removed out easily by using silicon dioxide. Silica, we are applying silica to it, right? So it will form a slag known as FeSiO3. This is a slag which is produced over here. So it will be in the molten state, and it can be removed out very easily, right? Then we have the copper sulfide present over here. What will we do with the copper sulfide? We will roasting, right? Roasting will take place over here. So we'll roast it with a high amount of oxygen present over here. It will get converted into copper oxide, and sulfur dioxide gas will be produced over here. This copper oxide can even react with the copper sulfide and can produce copper, and sulfur dioxide gas also will be removed out from here. Okay, so this is how we are getting our copper. Copper oxide can directly undergo reduction using the cork or something, or else if it contains copper oxide and copper sulfide, means that also can react together to give out our copper. But this copper which is getting from this process, that is a solid copper. The solid copper that we are getting from this process will contain lot of bubbles over here. Lot of small holes will be there. We'll say that it has a blister appearance. Will have a blister appearance because it contains lot of holes present over here. Why there is lot of holes present over here means, in this reaction gas is getting evolved, right? Sulfur dioxide gas is evolving out. So the escaping of the gas will now lead to the formation of lot of blisters over here. So due to that reason we will call such copper as the blister copper. So we'll call such copper as the blister copper. So this is how we are preparing out our copper. So the last application that we are studying is the extraction of zinc. Extraction of zinc from zinc oxide. So zinc oxide, from zinc oxide we can extract out zinc. That is also easily, by the time in those cases it will be higher than that is required for the copper, right? We told that for the reduction of the copper we requires only lesser temperature, because that line is lying at the top of the Elegant diagram. But here in this case it can be easily get reduced, but the temperature in this case will be higher than that is required in the case of copper, right? So how can we extract out the copper from the copper oxide? Is that we can just react it with the reducing agents. For example, zinc oxide can be reacted with the cork and it will can give out zinc and carbon monoxide. Okay, the temperature required is 1673 Kelvin. Almost this temperature is required, then only this reduction will takes place. Okay, the most important thing that you need to remember over here is zinc oxide. It is no for the for heating. We are heating it, right? We are heating it around 1673 Kelvin. So in order to become this heating process much more easier, we will make the zinc oxide in the form of briquette, some log type, and also that we can heat it very easily. So we will get our zinc out from it.
So we have completed the extraction of 3 metals. Now we can just go through the previously asked questions. I have selected only a few number of questions, and those questions are repeated many times. So at the end of the chapter, anyway, we will be discussing all the previously asked questions. So I selected only few questions for this topic. I want you to listen to it, understand it, and you have to write it in your notebook also. Okay, so the first question is, write down the reactions taking place in different zones in blast furnace during the extraction of iron. So you have to write in detail in different zones, means different temperature range, which all are the reactions which is taking place over there. Then how is pig iron different from that of the cast iron? That also you have to mention the carbon content, percentage of carbon content present in each, and how it can be converted into one form to another. These all things you have to write over there. Next question is, what is the role of silica in the extraction of copper? Silica is added in the reverberatory furnace during the extraction of copper to remove impurities of iron oxide present in the ore, right? Silica is here act as a flux and will react with the iron oxide, which is the gangue present over there, and it will be removed as the slag also. So all these things you have to write it over there, write the equation also. That is FeO plus SiO2 gives FeSiO3. These all things you have to write over there. Which form of the iron is the purest form of commercial iron? That is wrought iron. That also we have discussed, right? What is the role of limestone in the extraction of iron from its oxide? The same type of question, right? Limestone is again, it is acting as a flux in order to remove the impurities or the gangue as the slag. So you have to write the equation also. So the next question is, describe the principle controlling the following process. I have taken only one process, that is the preparation of cast iron from pig iron. Again you need to describe how the pig iron is converting into cast iron. Next question is, what is the composition of copper matte? So copper matte, we have studied it. Copper matte contains Cu2s and Fes.